Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So if you've not tuned in before, then myself and my fiance Hilna are massive Disney fans and we document all of our trips to Disneyland Paris and also Disney World. And if you've not seen those, then check them out on the channel. But before we went to Walt Disney World last year with Hilna's family, Hilna recorded a video where she reflected on some previous trips to Disneyland Paris. Her dad had found some old home video footage and we managed to get the footage off of the DVDs and upload it onto the computer, and then we were able to put a little video together so she can remember it forever. And within that video, I said that I had been, when I was younger, to Disneyland Paris, but me trying to find the photographs was proven difficult. I had asked my mum, because in that trip I went with my mum, her partner Rob, and his son Paul. And I only have like vague memories of this trip. And I'm really annoyed at the 12-year-old me for forgetting everything that happened during that trip. We didn't have a video camera. We just had an ordinary camera from the time. And I believe that my mum's partner Rob was the one who was taking all of the photographs. I did ask my mum how long we were in Disneyland Paris for that trip. And she said a week. But I don't know if it was a week. If it was a week, that's a long time for me to block out of my memory. I thought it was just for a couple of days. So anyway, I went up to my mum's a few weeks ago, and in my old room on the floor, there was this. And inside this, Disneyland Paris photographs. Oh yes! Now some of you may have seen some of these photos because I had just found them before I did the first ever live stream on the channel, and I was showcasing some of them. But what I decided to do was to do a big video about the photographs. I've scanned them into the computer, so I'm going to put them up on the screen so you can see them better. And I'll talk a bit about them, and I'll try and share some memories of that trip to Disneyland Paris. Although, like I said, I have forgotten a lot. There are certain things that stick out in my memory, which I will talk about. You might have heard me talk about them in the past. And I'm awful when it comes to remembering how old I was when I did certain things. My mum normally, whenever we got photos printed, would write down where it was and the year. And I think that was a great idea. Unfortunately for these photographs, that didn't happen. So I've deciphered what year I went. I think it is 2002. Something is screaming out to me from the look of me in the photographs that I'm 12 years old. And also, I looked at some of the things that are happening in these photographs, and I put together the timeline. So I'll talk about that when we're going through the photographs. But also, there is a picture of my mum and Rob in front of the castle, and to the side of my mum, bless my mum, got her eyes closed there, to the side of my mum, it was a very sunny day, a very sunny time period this. I'm thinking it was November as well, because there's a Christmas show in these photographs, and in all the photographs, we're not wearing scarves, we're not wearing hats, and there's people with their jackets off. So something's telling me that it was a warmer time period, so I'm guessing that would have been November, judging from when we last went in November. So anyway, yeah, standing next to my mum is a gentleman, and he's wearing a t-shirt, and on the back of his t-shirt, I think it's something that he's had made himself, and it's something about being champions, and it says 2001/2002. So I'm thinking he would have been wearing that as it had just happened. So 2002, because when you go to Disney, you make t-shirts, don't you? So I think he wanted to show off. No idea what it was, but thank you to that gentleman. By the way, if you want to go back and watch Helena's video, the reflection video, then I'll put a little eye up in the corner and you can go and check that out. She went in 2001 and 2005, she thinks. So it would have been really cool though if we'd been in at the same time in the same year. It would have been a bit spooky, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's get to the photographs then. So here's the first photograph, and it's myself, Rob, and my mum standing outside of Space Mountain, Hyperspace Mountain. And judging from the look of things, it doesn't seem to have changed that much. I'm telling you now, I did not go on that ride back then. I was really scared of roller coasters and rides. That was far beyond my comfort zone. And I remember in this specific trip, it's probably why I don't remember a lot of it, I didn't go on a lot. And thinking back now, I'm like, Martyn, what are you doing? However, I am glad in a way because I got to experience it all with Helena when we first went to Disneyland Paris. So yes, that's us outside of Hyperspace Mountain, which is now one of my favourite rides. We did have in our bucket list for the last trip to ride it 10 times. We only got 9. Got to get it done next time. So this next photo... Those trainers, by the way, that I'm wearing, I had those trainers for years. I'm sure I still tried to wear those up until about 18 years of age. I am notorious for not buying clothes and making things last. Look at my Adidas jumper. And I don't know what I'm doing there. Obviously, it's very sunny. I didn't pack any sunglasses. And that's not a flattering picture. I also don't have my normal hairstyle, which back then, I believe, or maybe it was a bit before I decided to have it, was the takeoff ramp. Instead, I've got the mop. That's how my hair normally looks after I've had a shower. And where are we standing? I'm trying to work that out. Is that where... You're going to have to help me as well now, if you recollect where this is. Something's telling me that is where Star Tours is. Okay, so the next photographs, these are from a show. So this is the show that was happening at Christmas, the time that I went. And I can't remember seeing this show at all. You think it would stand out to me, but it doesn't. I was really surprised when I saw the photographs. And I showed one of these photographs on the live stream. And then Chloe Page, thank you Chloe, you told me that your mum had photographs of this particular show and it took place in the Chaparral Theatre. So from that knowledge, I was able to go off and research and find out exactly what this show was. So let's just take a look at the photos. I found this through Vintage Disney Parks channel and also Theme Park Worldwide, the information I'm about to say. It's called Mickey's Winter Wonderland. And it was on the stage at the Chaparral Theatre. It used to be a real winter wonderland with the rocky, snow-covered mountains featuring a cosy wooden chalet, a frozen pond, a mysterious ice cave, and even a hillside slide. And Mickey and his friends took part in this magical Christmas adventure. And from Photos Magiques, they've got some photos on their website, Mickey's Winter Wonderland was one of the longest running seasonal shows in the history of Disneyland Paris. First introduced in 1998, the show returned every year for the Christmas season at the Chaparral Theatre stage until 2011. So that didn't help me when it came to figuring out when I went, because 1998, I knew it was like early 2000s. I mean, the country bears, you never see the country bears at Disneyland Paris. They're primarily a Walt Disney World thing, aren't they? Where you see them wandering around and just interacting with guests. I've never seen them at Disneyland Paris. And I went online and watched this show. So if you go onto YouTube and search Mickey's Winter Wonderland, there are numerous videos of this actual show. And I watched the full length recording of the show. And it was a really fun show. Everybody was involved in it. Donald was the one living in the lodge. 2 people in a couple. They're lost and they stumble across Donald Duck's house, and then everybody gets involved. And there's ice skating, and one of my favourite bits. It was so romantic. It was almost like "You Are My Sunshine" at Buffalo Bill's Wild West show when Mickey sang to Minnie. Again, it involved Mickey and Minnie, and it was Mickey and Minnie ice skating together during this show. I loved it. And also what I did, and this might sound a little bit weird, but I went through, there were different recordings of the show from different years, And I had the photos, and I was like this with the photos, and I was going, because I was looking at the narrators. It was no good looking at the characters, because the characters look the same every year. They are lucky that way. But I was looking at the outfits that the people were wearing, the narrators, and then I was really looking at the male narrator's face, and then I was looking at the video, and I was trying to decipher whether it was him or not. And I think the closest I got to this person that's in these photographs is 2002. The girl, though, I really struggled trying to identify. There was nobody that seemed to really pull down their bobble hat in the way that she does in this set of photos, and nobody seemed to have the really long hair. But the guy, I'm sure he's in the 2002 version. And speaking of 2002, what opened in 2002? Walt Disney Studios. It opened the 16th of March 2002. So if we went in 2002, we went very close to when it had officially opened, which boggles the mind. We were there, within the first year that the park itself was opened. And I've just been reacquainting myself with the information about the new lands that are going to be opening at Disneyland Paris. I'm so excited. It's 2021. They're going to be sorted, and it's lands and areas dedicated to Marvel, which is going to be incredible, Frozen, and Star Wars. Helena, we need to get some annual passes. Anyway, back to the photographs. So if this had been the first year of Walt Disney Studios being open at Disneyland Paris, then we will have seen the show that's included in these next set of photographs fairly early on in its run. The Motors Action Stunt Show Spectacular. Apologies for my French there. That just sounded like Geordie. And as you can see, it looks pretty similar, if not identical, to the way that it is today. They're using the same cars, the same sort of setup. Obviously the clothing's slightly different, but look at this shot that Rob managed to get. This is incredible. I mean, bar the spiky haired person that sat in front of us, we've got it's like the car's about to hit him. We've got the flames and the start of the explosion there about to happen. Also in the Walt Disney Studios, I do remember going on the backlot tour. Anything that involved just sitting and not moving, I mean, I know that the backlot tour moves, but things that didn't involve me being thrown around, I was happy to go on. The more of those, the merrier I was. So before we get to the nighttime photos, right, let's go back. Let me think. I need my cup of tea for this. Memories of that trip. I remember that we went over on the ferry. I remember being in an arcade, and then I remember that because we then went on the ferry over the first time when we went in July 2017, and I was gutted there wasn't an arcade. We went over by ferry. I, for the life of me, can't figure out where we stayed. I don't think we stayed in a Disneyland Paris resort. When it came to the actual parks, I don't think we did any character meet and greets. Because if we did, there would have been photos. My mum would have insisted on photos if I did any character meet and greets. I think, if I'm being honest, I was probably a little bit moody about the whole thing. And that's probably just born out of fear of having to go on the rides. Like Rob and Paul, they were really keen to go on all the rides, whereas my mum was also scared of rides. So me and her sort of banded together and went on all the other things and went to watch the shows. And I vividly remember Paul and Rob going on, I think it was Space Mountain, and Rob saying, "Why don't you go on? There's this great ride, I've just seen it, it's not for little kids, it's called It's a Small World." And my mum was like, it's not for little kids, is it? It sounds like it's for little kids. He's like, "No, it's not for little kids, not at all, wait until you get on that." So we go to It's a Small World, and we sit in the boat, and then it all becomes clear that Rob and Paul have stitched us up. In the Walt Disney Studios park, I went into Armageddon, and I have talked about this before. The Armageddon ride, the pre-bit, before you actually go into the set, is 20 minutes long, where they're preparing you. and they're going through all of the different reactions that you got to give while you're on the set. And even during that, I think I was very vocal in the fact that I didn't want to go in, and that I thought I was going to die. My mum was just trying her hardest to console me and to say, Martyn, you're going to be absolutely fine. The same way that Helena has done in the past. But I wasn't having any of it. So when we went through the actual set and all those explosions started happening, and it was like we were all going through a meteor storm, I let everybody know about it. For 12 years old, I was acting as if I was maybe 2. Screaming and crying. But, you know, sense of achievement when I got off. In terms of merchandise, I believe I know I did, because he's still got it. I got my dad a Mickey Mouse glass. I'm not sure if it's like a pint glass, but just like a soda glass or a pop glass. I need to have a look and see what rides were actually there when I went, and see whether that might jog the memory. I'll see if I can get that up once I've gone through these photographs. Look at this from Pete's Dragon, Elliot. And this is the electrical parade, which me and Helena saw when we were in Walt Disney World the first time. And here it is in Disneyland Paris. And this ran from 1992 to 2003. So that's another reason why I know that I must have been 12 or 13. Because this parade was on. And we got the snail and the mushroom. We had a decent view, didn't we? I mean, actually, I don't know how much I saw. I think that might be my head. The top of my head. This one is truly frightening. It looks like a weeping angel from Doctor Who. What is that one? So that was Disneyland Paris. And then we also did a bit similar to me and Helena. We went on a day trip to Paris. But this one, I remember, we went on a day trip, but we went on a coach, and I don't remember getting off the coach. I remember just staying on the coach for the entire trip. And this, I remember this more than Disneyland Paris. Here's a picture of the Louvre, or the Louvre gallery, which we went to and took a photograph of when we were there, but we took a photograph during the daytime. Then the photograph here, so I thought, is this the Arc de Triomphe? But it's not the one I was thinking of. It is the Arc de Triomphe de Carousel, and it was built between 1806 and 1808 to commemorate Napoleon's military victories of the previous year. And then this photograph in front of the Eiffel Tower, well, that's the bit where me and Helena went to, and they said to be careful of all your possessions because there were pickpockets in the area. So I think we stood in pretty much the same place as we are in this photograph here. Okay, so I've been online and I'm trying to find out the rides that were around in 2002. So there's Alice's Curious Labyrinth. I mean, I imagine I must have gone around that because that wasn't scary. That's from 1992 till present. Then Art of Disney Animation. The Orbitron was 1992 to the present. I wouldn't have gone on that because it was up high in the air. Big Thunder Mountain, 1992 to the present. If there was one roller coaster I might have gone on, it might have been Big Thunder. The Carousel, I probably went on the Carousel with my mum. Casey Jr., well, I didn't even know that Storybook Land existed until last year, so I don't think I went on that. Yes! I remember more than anything else going to see, and I don't know how I forgot about this, going to see Cinemagique, starring Martyn Short. So we sat in the audience. It's in the production courtyard. It opened in 2002. So again, yes, this makes sense. And it ran until 2017. So a guy got a phone call in the audience, probably about a phone this size back then. And he starts talking and somebody's like, "Excuse me, can you stop talking on your phone?" And then he gets up on the stage and then something happens on the screen where I think they might react to the guy being on the phone, and then they make him come into the screen. And then the rest of the show is him moving from different movies and like things happening in the audience. Like there's a bit where he goes into Titanic and you get splashed with water from the ceiling. And that was one of my favourite things to see. So that was Cinemagique. I'm so glad I looked at this because I had forgotten about that. Phantom Manor. Yes. Yeah, I remember going on Phantom Manor because I remember being terrified of that. And I've just remembered Indiana Jones, the ride. I didn't go on it. I was the one that stood at the side with the bags, and I can't believe my mum actually decided to go on it. But my mum regretted it immediately when she went on, because back in those days, it didn't just go forwards, it went backwards. She was not a fan of rides, and she got off and she was as white as a sheet. And I remember there was a bit where like you could look over at the bottom with the railing, you can see them go past, and she was like, "No, I just want to get off." But I was so proud of her for going on it. But yeah, Indiana Jones. Some of it's coming back to me. Pirates of the Caribbean, that was my favourite ride from when I went when I was 12 years old, and that's the ride that stuck with me for the longest time. And when they said they were going to bring out the movie to do with the ride, I was really excited because I loved it. Even though it had drops in it, there was something about that ride that stood out to me. And the scene with the dog and the keys, I could really, whereas I'd forgotten a lot about this trip, I could really picture that part of the ride in my head. So there we go. I've been through all the rides there, and there were ones that definitely shouted out to me, "Memory!" And in terms of the show at the night time, Fantasy in the Sky was the nighttime fireworks display. Wishes ran from 2003 to 2017. Alright, okay. Well, so it replaced Fantasy in the Sky. So I just missed Wishes by about a year. And then that was Helena's favourite. Fantasy in the Sky. The 1999 to 2003 version. The songs were Second Star to the Right, You Can Fly, You Can Fly, You Can Fly, I've Got No Strings, It's a Small World, Grim Grinning Ghosts, The Ballad of Davy Crockett, Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me, Under the Sea, A Whole New World, When You Wish Upon a Star, and then a reprise of A Whole New World. That's cool to know. I love researching old Disney. Well, anyway, this video is getting longer and longer, and I only had about 20 photographs. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this walk down memory lane. And, I mean, I've edited out a lot of pauses while I sat there like this. I probably should have, planned and thought about it before I actually started the video and pressed record, but that's me just doing things on the fly, hoping they turn out. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.